Are you a beginner weaver and you've been floating around the yarn stores and leaving empty-handed because you actually just don't know where to begin? Well, today I'm going to talk about yarn that I recommend for a total beginner weaver. And there are a lot of people out there who probably won't actually agree with my recommendations, but I'm going to justify them by telling you why I recommend the yarns that I do. So, when I teach a beginner's workshop, our first sampler is always made with a woolen yarn. And when I talk about a woolen yarn, I don't necessarily mean 100% merino. For me, a woolen yarn is a yarn that looks like this. The reason that I recommend this yarn is because it has elasticity. Can you see? I can pull it apart, and when I release the tension, it retracts onto itself. And that means that this yarn is going to be forgiving. So as a beginner, if you are putting up your first warp, or your second, or your third, or even your fifth warp, I would recommend that you go for a yarn that has a little bit of elasticity, because if your warp tension is not 100% correct, your elastic yarns will kind of auto-correct up to a point. Obviously, if you have huge issues in your warp tension, they won't. But it's very forgiving to use a woolen yarn. This particular yarn that I have here, this is an African Expressions yarn, and it's a merino mohair acrylic blend. Now, I have no problem with acrylics at all, especially for a beginner. And I'm just going to move the camera a little bit here and show you something. So that piece with the stripes, it looks like they're vertical stripes. Actually, I wove them horizontally, but that was one of my very, very first pieces of weaving. So it's well over 30 years old. I'm giving myself away there. I shouldn't, but I did. And this, friends, is 100% acrylic. And you can see even the fringes, which I never ever properly finished, are looking still pretty damn good. The colors haven't faded. It's kept its shape. Everything about that piece is intrinsically almost as good as it was on the day it came off the loom. Don't decry acrylic yarns. Acrylic yarns have a very definite place, and one of the places that they fit very well into is our wallets. I always recommend to my beginner students that for their first projects they don't use wool that is going to break the bank, because it will break your heart also. So go for something that is a middle of the road. 100% acrylic like that, or an acrylic blend like that. They're more cost effective, they're easier to use. This is also an acrylic. This is a sort of run-of-the-mill machine knitting type acrylic yarn that one would use for school pullovers and stuff like that, I suppose. Sure, it's not the softest or the kind of cushiest yarn that you can find, but it has a certain place. And don't forget also, with your acrylics, if you're making something like a picnic blanket or even a baby blanket, and I know I'm going to get shot down in flames for saying that, anything that needs to go into the washing machine on a regular basis, children's sweaters, children's anything, I would say go for acrylic. Now, if we look at our cotton yarns, these three small cones are cotton, and so is the little stack of colors there. If I do that sort of stretchy test that I did with the wool, with the cotton, you can see there is no elasticity in there. Now, obviously, this is a very fine cotton. If I look at something like this, it's a far more robust yarn. And this is slightly looser spun, so it does have a certain amount of elasticity in it. Cotton, on the whole, doesn't give you the same permission to be slightly off-pieced. So I would definitely say maybe your second or your third project, give cotton a go. But when you use your cotton, you have to be extremely pernickety about your warp tension. If you are not meticulous in the winding on of your warp, you are going to run into all sorts of issues. Having said that, this is a mercerized cotton. It's a 5x2 cotton. It's an Ashford product. And it's a beautiful cotton, and I use it often. But this, friends, looks like cotton, acts like cotton, and it's 100% acrylic. This is what is marketed in South Africa as a number 5 crochet cotton. There isn't a fiber of cotton in it. It is totally acrylic. And again, if I'm sampling or if I'm learning, this is what I'll go for because it is so cost effective. I can afford to put up a 4-meter warp over 60 centimeters in the acrylic yarn. And if my plans don't work out, or if I make a terrible hash of the project or the study or whatever I'm doing, it's not going to break my heart. So this piece here, this twill sampler, is also something that I made many years ago now, and that is made from my acrylic cotton. So, as a complete beginner, I would not hesitate to recommend that you consider a yarn that is cost effective and that you consider a yarn that is going to give you the best possible results, because let's face it, if you have a few dodgy projects to begin with, it's going to put you off weaving for life, and we don't want that because this is the most wonderful craft. But I seriously recommend that you go for something cost-effective and something serviceable, and something that is not going to break your heart if your ideas don't come to fruition. Those one-off beautiful hand-dyed skeins that you've got languishing in your stash, use them later when you can really do them justice. So much to learn and so much to know when you're starting out as a weaver. So anything that helps. Don't forget that you can find me on Patreon, where I post weekly as the Weaving Diaries. If you would consider a subscription, that would be absolutely wonderful. I also have a very good beginner's course on my website. The link for my website is just under the banner on my page. I developed the rigid heddle consolidation course specifically to build confidence in new weavers. So please feel free to go along to my website and to have a look. I'll also put the link in the comments below. Until the next time, thank you for joining me.